Zakaria David, Nakuru Town East.
Masemeri, Teso South.
George
Timboko Likoni.
Rehab Mukami, Nyeri.
And I'm Caleb Misaboti.
will be sworn in because he'll testify to see if they are corresponding. So you may be upstanding. You have an option to swear on the Bible, many members will be referring to you as nominee. I'll invite a brief introduction of yourself, your name, educational background, working experience. Kick 5 minutes at the very most.
Thank you again for nominating me to this position of Cabinet Secretary. Fast forward, I graduated in the year 1985 and thereafter went into telecommunication industry engineer after a 9-month course at the then Central Train, managing traffics going into the various routes. Subsequently, I did rise to the level of general manager, where I managed the ICT, information communication, divestiture and liberalization of telecommunications, where we did at that time the communication authorities regulations, laws and regulations that spinned off what is now the and CellTel at that time. Something that then competitive from the monopolistic management of telecommunication at that time. I later on moved on, honorable members, chairman, as I spearheaded various reforms, and where Kenyans at that time did not believe in exercising their democratic right. At that time was the most trusted organization in Kenya, ahead of the media, and of course the constitution, which today really brings out center. It doesn't matter what you do at the Central Tallying Center because the results would have been an A and everybody participate in the counting. Even when we've had the results we had in 2 years, the electoral process with acceptance of those electoral results. In there, we worked with a number of leadership to form government. Petroleum, a role I did work on for 2 years before, and we got out of it over time, but not before some work. Walk the journey, and I come here today, rather 2022 again. I was nominated and appointed. The entire cabinet was dismissed. Honorable members, of today, and today I and transport. I'll leave it at that for now, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, that will do. I will now invite members.
Allow me to question Mr. Nominee on where he served before, his immediate former position as the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. You know very well that one of the biggest complaints Kenyans had, mitigate this. Then where you're going now to the Ministry of Transport, is the cost of building our roads. I know that before the finance bill collapsed, the discussions were that if you're confirmed for this position of Minister of Transport, are you going to look at joint concession? No. How you intend to deal with Kenya is, are you going to be knowing what your views are on that? Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Country to bring down the cost of energy. Let me start, Honorable Chair, by saying, when I checked last, and then because of the concern and significant contributor to the cost of doing business, in industry production is significantly high. Chairman, honorable members, which we've just signed off the 2024-2043, every bit and piece of energy that is generated is the demand and the supply. And because the demand, there's got to be very good planning. As we speak now, we are planning for power, for in Olkaria, in Kiambere, Kamburu, solar, and so on and so forth. Ensure that the energy mix in generation, we do generate, including, of course, hydro, and the most expensive generation is from thermal. And during times of drought, but more importantly, the mix to we do not dispatch the expensive power when we don't need to, is a very important component in managing expensive. It dispatches power at about 70 shillings per kilowatt hour. Moroni also switched off a power plant called Kipef 1. Moroni, end of life, and we switched it off. And likewise, we've switched off 76.4 megawatt annually, when it is dispatching at 15%. If we have to dispatch more, the promoters of these power plants have been through this town to see everybody to try and bring that and placed it in a very, very good pedestal. So, Chair, let me end that initial, both cost of electricity and cost of petroleum, a real difficult position to sustain cost of doing business and the climate change commitment which we've made for this country. As regarding some of the things that I will do, where I have quickly checked the road sector with some with the Chinese government and some with the exchequer support annually is about 55 billion. So gains and what have you and therefore there is a job to be done. Chairman, a finance bill that has not gone through. Luckily, where I come again, to members, and of course, a budget of about 10 billion annually, all off balance sheet. And I sit here to basically pronounce that the treasury balance sheet, otherwise we'll need 20 years, and that we have to deliver because they are contractual. Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman, meant of 160 billion in debt. What is it that you will do to attract capital and actually to offset the 1 trillion and also to pay the bills? Because you have...
and you had not also touched on Kenya Airways question?
Through Chair, and when you, Chairman, you have term sheets where when you're generating power, we tell you we're not signing if your tariff is above 6 cents US. So I think we should really be looking at commitments of trying to build a road for 500 million Kenya shillings per kilometer. Time to initially to push us to a commitment where we are building a kilometer for the price of 5, 6, 10 kilometers. We will need to look at, more importantly, how to work off balance sheet. When I say that $10 billion, it sounds crazy. But petroleum alone, which comes into Kenya today through the cost, the economy, some 6 trillion, crazy numbers. I mean, I just need to refer. 6 billion US, the Fed went into 5.5% interest, and the interest to bring these necessary products to drive the economy. So we'll be looking together, honorable members, at how to resolve this challenge. It's a big challenge. Raising is something that we can look at what you would call borrowing a bullet today and over 10 years, and we should be able to finance. As to whether those are resolved, because it's a commitment this country has made, we'll have to address.
Point of information, Speaker. Small point of information.
Yes, President.
Resources securitized by our instruments, which is, for example, fuel levy. In last Parliament, when the nominee might want to exploit that opportunity, Honourable Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. It's another interesting investment which you do know that we all love to have our Kenya Airways. And speak, and for the short time I've been preparing to appear before you, I do see Kenya Airways has given support to the tune of 600 billion Kenya shillings, capital that they are operating in. Chair, I think the reforms at Kenya and ownership by the employees of Kenya Airways, and we're going to sit down and get them to understand that it's up having to pay your bill is something that we'll really need to sit down. Also seen Kenya Airways having a portfolio of flights that may not be suitable in the embryo, which do not have the kind of bottom belly to carry the kind of luggage, and therefore in this fleet, and therefore giving us an uncompetitive. Chairman, I do note that Kenya will possibly take out some cost out of the system, become out of the challenge they currently face. But more importantly, if you look, and the fact that Kenya is today, Kenya government owns about 49%, 48.9% of Kenya Airways. Of that 600 billion, government will go to a shareholding structure. Successful hotels, allow me to use hotels, Chair, where they need to build a network of a supporting airline that we can leverage on to be able to bring Kenya is so significant. So we need to work on Kenya Airways. Thank you, Chair.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've listened to those stories about KQ since I joined Parliament, to that story from the next nominee after you. Or will you commit to the people of Kenya that you can be able to on and on forever? So you may need to tell us whether you truly is giving value to the people of Kenya, because even nationalizing it, if you do not give value to the people of Kenya, then it may not make sense in the oil industry. You tell us how beneficial that G2G was. Was it beneficial to the country? You've seen Kenyans online saying that the airport has been sold. Are you the man to run this or any that make Kenya trust that you will do it for value, for good value to the people of Kenya, if G2G was not of value to the people of Kenya? And I say if, because to be consequential to your first answer on G2G on oil. And maybe you would take a bit of time to tell us what you have. You've got embraced from the ministry on this Adani, add to what Honorable Kosing was saying. Yes, the there for leveraging on the RMLF funds on roads, but as you rightly say with the program,
I think KQ is it needs, like I said, there'll be quick wins. There'll be the low-hanging fruits like in KQ, the industrial relations. We need to stand the challenge, and that we need to get out of it, because somebody else can expensive leases on the 7 leases where like we'll all have to agree, is a very strategic asset. So it will be one thing to sit down and fast things ownership. So it's a leadership issue. We really need to address that. One thing which I'm going to put alongside Article 35 of the Constitution, and I did make a record of that so that I don't talk to public participation in facilitating public participation in involvement and in the legislature. There shall be openness and accountability, including participation in financial matters. Chair, I think that has been in Parliament to basically actualize how public participation should be conducted and which is causing a pain. Because G2G was a fairly complex and a quick solution required to address the challenge of the time. But on every step as we go forward, wouldn't be facing the kind of challenges we are facing today. So there'll be need to this done is something that we'll need to really work on. So really, I think we really need to address journey. The G2G story, Kimani Chungwa through the chair, I think was a great success for this country. At the time, inflation rate was soaring at a high of 9%, including in the US and Canada. A very tight monetary policy, everybody was basically earning more money, taking their money to the bank. And a situation which not only
avoid the temptation to give a lecture.
Yeah.
Answer questions.
Agreed.
Yes.
The G2G chair was brought in to purchase petroleum, pay Kenya shillings, on a deferred later when the situation improves. It has worked very well. I think we have today brought in over 100 cargoes. We have in account April, May 2022. MPs will recall carrying jerry cans around the country looking for fuel, petroleum products. As regarding Adani, so G2G was great. I think it is.
You know, you're being guided by the chair to avoid giving lectures because the straight answer was the dollar was at
patient, provide information, have a framework in terms of investment when we are bringing a PPP. If we agree that the return we should do, is it going to help Kenya vis-a-vis what I just said? This is a private sector player to do it on reasonable.
Thank you, Chair. And telling the nominee that I think Mr. Nominee pending bill that has no money essentially for development of new roads around that. That's number one. And number two, in November 2023, grid failure, you remember? And it affected many places, including the airport, some people. But on your side, nothing happened. What could be the reason and what could have to collapse? And another thing I wanted to ask you is, you know, we are forming, now we have a skewed way of doing road constructions in the country. Places like my neighbor here in Kikuyu, there is no road remaining unless now we want to put overhead and overpasses. What area will you come up with?
Honorable Speaker, you need to protect me from my colleague. He can't say there are no roads remaining.
Yeah. Are you going to come up with so that roads net distribution is done in the world from, I don't know, here, Kabete or somewhere in Nairobi here, all the way to status. There was an agreement with the French government, but it has never taken off. You may get a good report from me.
Very quickly, for the unfortunate blackouts in the network, whereas we have generated enough power because it is done by the private in terms of generators, transmission and off-take, or the network is financed by the Exchequer, through the Exchequer. In the blackout was transmission in nature. Chair, we have two very specific challenges in Kisumu, Moroni, Chemosit, a network which links, when it sends a fault, it will drip. So the drip to get more power from Olkaria through Met, Awendo, and Homabay. So that the contractor will be on site shortly. We got a funding from do pull out feeders. Pulling out a feeder is load shedding. The whole country while we build this network very quickly. We've had a challenge in Takwel, a place called Ortum. Those solar plants cost a network constraint. And so we've not been dispatching Takwell because of the tech of Otum. Otum is in some place in West Pokot there, and we've gotten the transformer to Kitale. Transmit more power through a line has been resolved. We are also working on something called to be able to manage a network disturbance, which causes a blackout. And so those are being addressed. Unfortunately, they belong to Chirchr.
Because blackouts cut across business in Busia. Because you persistent blackout. So mention something about Busia.
Allow me, Chair.
Yes, Chirchir.
Chair, characteristic of most of west of Kenya. You know, most of the generation is in the Seven Forks. It's a very good capacity line. That problem will be a thing of the past. That's being
when
done.
Will it be ready? I'm sitting on a chair. I'm not a chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Let me say this.
Yes.
Since I came to the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, we've been working challenge. In fact, to put lives to the number of load shedding, we are working around the clock to ensure that we deliver this in the shortest possible time.
Point of order, ma'am. Only 3 people have asked questions, and we're almost an hour. So,
Going forward, nominee, when you ask a question, just answer it. Let me now start from finish.
Junet, and I'll just 30 seconds. Rironi is what I called a term sheet. We'll relook at that and be able to bring the cost right, possibly do what we must do. Chairman, I introduced my formative life in traffic engineering, and we'll need to do more of a corridor. You may not need traffic to open Lapset because we need to shift development to a new development corridor. And so we'll use...
Then we go to Mary, Amisi, Mule, then we come back this side.
Foremost, the road maintenance levy that was introduced recently from 18 shillings to 25 shillings by EPRA. Was National Oil Corporation of Kenya involved? Because there is that you're paying for fuel in Kenyan shillings. I want clarity because I am very well aware that Kenyan shillings are not on the transport sector which you're being dominated to. How will you deal with it? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I would like to ask Davis, our nominee, River, Lamu. Those areas are very productive, but the productive Malindi is decaying because of the lack of the airport. You're a clever man, that I know because I've worked, and I want to declare my interest. What will you do really to solve this problem of the airport? Secondly, the open sky question. Tourists from Addis Ababa to Nairobi, then the airport, the tourist is stranded there waiting for jumbo jet to kill legendary issues, the Malindi airport and the...
Chairman, the issue of road maintenance levy, which granted Kena, Kura for the urban and Kera, and we'll need to look at whether the road development does not have any revenue because we rely on road development in an area where we'll be together looking at a policy on tolling, road tolling, so that we will really, because of the 7 shillings additional, that was, like you said, to be able to open up this country for economic development, constituency in Eastern Province and opening up that region for development. So we look at that together, who are able to work with AAA or investment grade banks to be able to big challenge, and in fact we are commercializing NOC at the moment, Mr. Speaker. It ran itself into a problem when they brought 2 cargoes. Marketing companies were allowed to appoint local OMCs. The trade finance pay in Kenya shillings today. In the meantime, because the dollar through central bank with central in a very structured way, we had a committee called to buy in a structured way so that we also removed the interbank rate, which had gone off completely.
The dollar. That's what he's asking, the chairman.
Atlantic issues and high cost of transportation is something with the technology today. Let me just say, I do, and be able to eventually even cancel with a kind of fine system that can be operated in offenders at junctions and things like that. We look at that together and implement that quickly. It becomes very important today, where even with Google, you are able to choose the route without traffic. There is no reason why, when I'm coming from Bomet, Honorable Speaker, I have to drive into. So we'll implement those aspects of traffic management together. Malindi, Mheshimiwa Owen, I know Malindi is passionate into Malindi, and there is no reason why we cannot sit together quickly and dimension bending bills that we talk about. Open sky question, vis-a-vis, I agree with you, but it's happening. It's bound to be happening at a very hard time for Cape, because even if we did a reciprocal arrangement and our flights to those destinations are the Embraer, which are not policy, with more importantly the reciprocal arrangements.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Your attempts to equalize provision of electricity in the country, and especially with what are known as stored projects, the stored roads, started 10 years ago in 2014, and up to now we are still grappling with the vision of stored roads and projects, so that at least the network can.
MP for Nordimenti, and I want to say I'm in the Committee of Transport, so I won't ask him transport question. Fuel, the one we were told by Honorable Kiraito during his time as minister, so that at least fuel could be cheaper than what it is right now. But those Mau Mau roads do not pass through the whole of central Kenya. It is just a portion of central Kenya.
Son of stalled projects in Sarah contracted, we'll have to look for funding solutions. And Chair, like I said,
I think that is what members want you to tell us. What innovative ideas
do you raise? We need to look at securitization of the little revenues that I say that it is fluid. We need to sit down together and look at the options. I say that it is fluid. We need to sit down together and look at the options. There'll be a number of options that are subject to meeting the social obligation of public institutions. We have a big field development plan that should be coming to Parliament. It is being reviewed. The crude oil. It looks at it is being reviewed. The crude oil. It looks at the technical capacity of that bankability of the project as to whether that bankability of the project as to whether we export crude. Bankability of the project as to whether we export crude.
Nominee.
We export crude.
Nominee. In the just nominee. In the just in the collapse. In the just in the collapse 50 kilometers per county. In the collapse 50 kilometers per county. So that 50 kilometers per county. So that secondly, Nairobi Express. Nairobi Expressway was Nairobi Expressway was constructed to ease congestion. Was constructed to ease congestion along the.
I beg you.
Constructed to ease congestion along the.
I beg you, give me two because the.
Along the.
I beg you, give me two because the last one is important for me. Give me two because the last one is important for me. The first
start with
last one is important for me. The first
start with the important one.
The first
start with the important one.
Mostly they say because it has been represented.
The important one.
Mostly they say because it has been represented by opposition leaders. Mostly they say because it has been represented by opposition leaders, but I doubt the same question. By opposition leaders, but I doubt the same question. And he said that in 100 days, yes, but I doubt the same question. And he said that in 100 days, I will see miracles. And he said that in 100 days, I will see miracles. Now it's 20 months. I will see miracles. Now it's 20 months down the line. Government, miracles. Now it's 20 months down the line. Government. But there must be a down the line. Government. But there must be a clear national rationalization. But there must be a clear national rationalization program of all. Clear national rationalization program of all. Of proper program of all. Of proper program of the ministry. Then
the question of proper program of the ministry. And then the question I wanted to ask Mr. Speaker is that of the ministry. And then the question I wanted to ask Mr. Speaker is that World Bank were financial institutions. World Bank were financial institutions that started, including Japan and other Asian countries. Now, Japan and other Asian countries. Now, Global South. In Global South. In this country, we've never had local, global, even the Mau Mau, local, global, even the Mau Mau not destroy any road. We not destroy any road. We cannot talk about a farm establishment. We cannot talk about a farm establishment is completely different for our development of paths. Completely different for our development of paths of our country. Continuously depends of our country. Continuously depend on external funding loans and on external funding loans that are crippling. That are crippling. And in which way are you going to change? And in which way are you going to change?
Yes, nominee. Yes, nominee.
Let me stand of order, Mr. Speaker. Let me stand of order, Mr. Speaker. That's how I was answered by. That's how I was answered by. I don't want to fall into the same. I don't want to fall into the same. I just ask, do you have any? I just ask, do you have any rationalization program that will ensure not?
I said in respect to the answer to Miriam.
Sure, not.
I said in respect to the answer to Miriam Mase Mheshimiwa, that will try to work. That we are doing our try to work. That we are doing our best in energy. That the resources that come out of Treasury. The resources that come out of Treasury, are we going to get sitting down with all the honorable members to ensure equitable distribution? Sitting down with all the honorable members to ensure equitable distribution, and we do have other options.
Mukami.
Thank you. We do have other options.
Mukami.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Honorable Speaker, a point of
thank you,
information.
Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, a point of
Thank you,
information.
Speaker.
Yes. Yes.
These are Honorable Waziri. These are Honorable Waziri. There is a concern reduced to encourage the participation of local contractors and ensure they have the participation of local contractors and ensure they have a fair.
Your neighbor, one question. Your neighbor, one question.
Chairman, I have two questions. One is a Chairman, I have two questions. One is a very short one. I've asked two questions. Dawood, Emase, Amisi, yeah, economy, be it locally or internationally. Yeah, economy, be it locally or internationally. Billions of shillings internationally. Billions of shillings have been coalization of this sport, of Lamu. My second questions on the same breath. Do you have questions on the same breath? Do you have they're under the entity of Kera? They're under the entity of Kera, Kura, and Kenha. There is a lot of duplication. Kura and Kenha. There is a lot of duplication, especially Kura.
So you're only giving your futuristic plans. If you get there.
Chairman, we've done something. Chairman, we've done something in the procurement where we did deliberate police. So we did deliberate police, so that in the years to come we should be like other countries where we are. In the years to come we should be like other countries where we are. Even the operators need to deliberately work quickly in those aspects in aspects in really ensuring what the economic advisors have basically. Yes. What the economic advisors have basically.
Yes, Mukami.
Chairman.
Yes. All that, Chirchir.
Thank you. Thank you. If approved, would you be able to do? Would you be able to do the same? God forbid, road in Kenya. The same, God forbid, road in Kenya. While when we corruption, particularly when we corruption, particularly to deal with that. The other issue is the issue of many towns.
For the construction materials, go to construction, it shouldn't be Surya Abdi. I think really we need to Russell Saku. You do know that
as we wait as long as until the cows come home. Is it that we are as long as until the cows come home? Is it that we are in the same country?
Yes, we just want to make the land useful, ensure that we move the population out to those. Go to the ministry, and I'm going to ensure that the reason why today, 60 years after independence, where they are following, their contractors are coming to spend their money.
The reason, when you give a Chinese contractor, I don't know if it is true, half the price of our cement, how do they?
Exim banks are export from Japan, are export from Japan. It's more of the Japanese who do the job. When we get a support from China who do the job. When we get a support from China, it's more of the Chinese who follow.
Kicked in as these hours, if approved, you talk to Kera, you talk to Kura, you talk to, if approved, you talk to Kera, you talk to Kura, you talk to county governments, you talk to county governments, you talk to Ken.
I look at Kera 2007. So the legislation. I look at Terra 2007. So the legislation was of these 2007. So the legislation was of these road maintenance levy. There should be no reason road maintenance levy. There should be no reason why the maintenance levy. There should be no reason why the Kera portion, or the
I just want to put it to the nominee. We lost Qatar. We lost Qatar, making JKIA their hub to help us with infrastructure of even the existing one. I want to just ask. Anyway, let me carry on. And so we cannot be having roads for the minority who are driving, and then our people who are driving, and then our people who are and then where do we get it? You know, your view, and then where do we get it? You know, your view on whether you know we'll still have capacity of SGR in real time, even if this infrastructure was
of a comment and
structure was
of a comment and the nominee. I don't know whether you know the area. Thank you. I don't know whether you know the area you are. Thank you, Chair. Chair.
Gikaria, the last one. Gikaria, the last one.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Chairman, sorry. On the road, on the road by the way bridges, police told us about the transport management system where, as an individual using a personal car, maybe what policy have you put in place, even to address the years a year ago, but it has not started. Secondly, the economic survey started. 10,762 serious injuries, 7,799 minor,
under which we are willing to allow investors to and if the rates are more competitive, it should be not able to develop some of these infrastructure facilities to grow our country. We really should be able to work on an economic model, have pedestrian-friendly roads, Chairman, we can have more people. Even walking to work. Scenario I found while reviewing the notes on this loan version. See whether we can agencies working more profitably, having the asset and having the liability, and not just having the asset, having the liability, and not just having the asset, clearing the container. The container then moves to Mariakani to be loaded. But today, for what I've reviewed, the Kenya Railways is handling. The Kenya Railways is handling 10 to 20% of the cargo coming out of the port to the railway. Of the cargo coming out of the port to the railway, and being able to make those kind of profits rather than transporting. We said we've built a pipeline. Profits rather than transporting. We said we've built a pipeline. We cannot be stressing our roads when there is a pipeline for transporting products. So my point is, the next which I want to answer very quickly. Is the control center and ensure that employment is shifted to Nairobi, and we can watch our SGR. There is no reason Nairobi, and we can watch our SGR. There is no reason why we cannot afford to play that game. Mombasa competition cannot afford to play that game. Mombasa competition does not come from within. It comes from within. It comes from bound goods. Do give because that are bound goods. Because that's how we lose jobs. That's how we lose opportunity of technology. And like I said, when we have that's how we lose opportunity of technology. And like I said, when we have the electronic licenses and all the cameras that we are, and we are still training our drivers on the traditional manual board. We thank you. On the traditional manual board. We thank you, Chairman. Chairman.
The Rironi Mau Summit Road. The Rironi Mau Summit Road.
Malaba Kambala arriving ahead of Tanzania so that you secure. Kambala arriving ahead of Tanzania so that you secure. Another one says, will you build toilets? A lot of affirmative action. Will you build toilets? A lot of affirmative action will you do for local contraction? Will you do for local contractors? And will you
hacking smart
contractors? And will you
hacking smart meter codes in the hacking smart meter codes in the country to destabilize the smart meter codes in the country to destabilize the
technology and civil engineering.
The country to destabilize the
technology and civil engineering. What will he do about that? Technology and civil engineering. What will he do about that?
Take 5 minutes to respond to those.
What will he do about
Take
that?
5 minutes to respond to those.
Chair, maybe he could also, Chair, maybe he could also
the kind of cargo on the priority list. It cannot be called a killer breach. It's not a good name. Accidents. It could actually reduce accident by killer breach. It's not a good name. Accidents. It could actually reduce accident by certain levels. Njeri oil. It was a very interesting that we have levied on imported clinker. We should be. It was a very interesting that we have levied on imported clinker. We should be able to use that we have levied on imported clinker. We should be able to use more of our cement. It is very more of our cement. It is very popular. We are getting more of investment. Popular. We are getting more of investment. Now using the ATIDI Africa Trade Insurance facility, the Africa Trade Insurance facility, but they are none signed. But they are none signed lately. You don't know, it's just a side comment. But there are none signed lately. You don't know, it's just a side comment. Interest on delays. Interest. Let me really need to check if I was still the minister today, but I will put it in my. I need to check if I was still the minister today, but I will put it in my hand over. It is for transport. So it's an area where I will basically follow up and check in interest. It is in our interest, basically follow up and check in interest. It is in our interest, Chair, to ensure that we very quickly address, Russell, what was the question on LAPSET? A PPP corridor. Russell, what was the question on LAPSET? A PPP corridor. As it were, and we did 3 parts where we invested that money to do the 3 parts which are, as it were, and we did 3 parts where we invested that money to do the 3 parts which are, be following the LAPSET corridor, If we are able to close this field development plan, and get the pipeline running along the corridor, we'll need the power lines along the corridor. We'll need the power lines And so let me follow up. Like I said in my earlier comments, it's a very important corridor the Sudan to export their products, and even the challenge they have with the pipeline at the moment. Thank you. Products, and even the challenge they have with the pipeline at the moment. Thank you. Moratorium which had been put by the executive, and I have since gone to cabinet to lift that. And I have since gone to cabinet to lift that moratorium, but soon Parliament so that we can license. Soon Parliament so that we can license, and then chair. Like I said, there's been that
lapset does not take off. From Lamu does not take off. From Lamu to join the main rail line either at Voi or Mariakani, so that jurisdictions and other countries, we can still make Lamu work.
It's very big ships which can reduce the cost of shipping and ensure that it's
We come towards the end. Davis, I ask you a few.
I'll need to confirm from. I think 500. There is a small addition from what I was worth. Last time.
30th September 1960.
The correct. Net worth. I think there's been some small growth of about 27.6. This is an historical valuation.
Must be a very small.
Historical valuation.
Must be a very small house.
In the
Cannot be reflecting your true net worth.
Thank you.
95 million if
a flat, that's okay.
Million if
a flat, that's okay. So if you have a house on it, it must be much.
This is an historical value.
So that because no one is going to go and start.
This is an historical value.
So that because no one is going to go and start doing undertaking a scientific evaluation.
No.
But you can say as at this period.
The entire.
A scientific evaluation.
No.
But you can say as at this period.
The entire honorable house for this.